Welcome to the Wellness Revolution podcast, the radio show all about wellness in your mind, body, spirit, personal growth, sex, and relationships. Stay tuned for weekly interviews featuring guests that have achieved physical, mental, and spiritual health in their lives. If you'd like to have access to our entire back catalog, visit drveronica.com for instant access. And here is your host, Dr. Veronica.
I'm Dr. Veronica, medical doctor, medical intuitive, bringing you ways to change your life and change your health. On Wellness for the Real World, you will always hear an interesting guest with a different perspective and how you can do life a little bit differently. Stop following the crowd. Stop being like the lemmings and going off the cliff. Follow your heart and learn to love yourself. Now, let's talk about our bodies. You only get one of them in this lifetime. In this particular lifetime, you only get one of them. And we have all different sizes and shapes and colors, and we all aspire to whatever we're aspiring to, but looking like a supermodel. Now, I always wanted to look like a supermodel, but the creator just didn't have it come out that way. So here I am. I had to suffer through a life of going to an Ivy League school and becoming a doctor. And so here I am. Instead of being a supermodel, I'm here on Wellness to the Real World. I put it like suffer because as a woman, we go through a lot of suffering with our body. And I've been through that type of suffering too, not just with an illness. And I've been really just blessed by the universe not to have any type of major illness thus far in my life. I've had a major injury, which I've had surgery for. But besides that, it's been good for me in my body. In addition, I'm strong. And most people would say, I remember one time I was in the locker room. I'm an eye surgeon by training. So I used to do surgery and I changed in the locker room. And one day I'm in the locker room with some of the other women there because it's a women's locker room. And the woman looks at me and she says, she was sitting on the couch on the other side. Wow, I'm changing my clothes, taking off my scrubs, just getting one. Wow, you have such a beautiful body. And I'm looking at me and it's okay, but I'm not a supermodel. So my thighs are too big. My butt's too big. I got stretch marks. My arms are this. I could tell you every single flaw, every single perceived flaw about my body at that moment in time. And across the room, that woman looks at me and says, "You have such a beautiful body." And then now, you think this might sound like I'm bragging, but I'm telling you this story because I want to tell you what was going on in my head before somebody said this to me. And it didn't stop at that moment, this going on in my head that my body's not good enough. Then other women in the locker room say, yes, oh wow, you're just perfect. Everything's you look like everything's perfect on you. Now, I never considered myself perfect. And I can tell you, my dislike of my body started when I was like 5 or 6 and I was on the swim team. And I'm in a community where, it's a very multicultural, multiracial community, but not mostly people who look like me necessarily all the time. And so I thought my body's not shaped like theirs, and it's not small enough or skinny enough. And I used to remember looking down at my thighs that are ample and looking over at somebody else's that were thin. And I mean, this goes back to childhood of feeling like I'm not where I should be. Okay. Even, and think about this, other people looked at me and thought, you have the perfect shape. I remember going, and this is well into adulthood and towards middle life, when I went to China and I was getting some custom clothes made, and the guy who's the Chinese tailor was putting the clothes on me and fitting them, and I'm standing there pretty much in my underwear, and all of a sudden he makes the gesture of approval with the hourglass shape, and I realized that he thought my body was the way it was supposed to be. But still, at this point, I've not accepted the way my body looks. I've been in it for all these years, and it's always never felt like it's been the way exactly that I want it. But what happened to me? I'd like to, keep myself as in shape as I possibly can keep myself in shape. And sometimes I can be extreme about that. And so one day I went out running when I didn't feel like going out running, and I tripped and fell, and I tore up my knee so bad. I dislocated my knee, detached the tendon, and I hurt myself. I tripped and fell and hurt myself so bad. Now, from an intuitive standpoint, when you have a lot of injuries and you hurt yourself, because I used to bump and be clumsy, and my husband used to laugh at me because I bump into things and hit my head, and he used to tell me how clumsy I was. And people who are accident prone like that tend to have problems with themselves and don't like themselves. So they tend to have a lot of accidents and injuries. Now, I hadn't had major anything, but I'd have those little mishaps here and there, bump my head, hit my arm, bruise here. And finally, I really hurt myself because I wasn't happy with me. And when I had a spiritual advisor at that time and we talked about this, all of a sudden I realized that I'm me, I'm happy, I'm healthy. I have a body that a lot of people love. And why am I not loving it? And I need to start loving it. And that's the time, after sitting on that couch, waiting for my knee to mend back together, that I learned to love my body no matter what. And so now, guess what, guys? You know what? I'm ready to do the nude calendar. Not because I want to offend people, but I'm ready to do the new calendar. And here I am in midlife, and I want to get together a bunch of other women who feel good about where they are at the particular place and time. And we're going to do that nude calendar because God made me this way. And now I feel really good about it. So I'm going to bring on my guest who helps people learn to love their body no matter what's going on in their body. Dr. Felicia Clark. Dr. Felicia Clark is the founder of Body Peace University. Her website, drfeliciaclark.com. I want to make sure you all hear that. And she's been just all over the place. Huffington Post, Los Angeles Times, Fox News, U.S. News and World Report, multiple radio stations. Her Body Peace University will help you get where I am, and maybe you could be in my nude calendar. And we'll take on the world. Dr. Felicia Clark, welcome to Wellness for the Real World.
Thank you, Dr. Veronica. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell me, how did you come to found Body Peace University?
Well, I've worked in several professions, and it just seems like all paths led to founding Body Peace University. Professionally, I'm a math textbook developer, and because I love mathematics, I always read data. And I've had jobs where it was my job to read statistical reports, financial reports, and trends and make recommendations to companies. And while I was doing those jobs and also writing curriculum, I was a model for the top agency in the country. So I would read a lot about the beauty industry, the financial forecasting for beauty industry, different, areas of beauty industry. And I started noticing patterns and trends, and it finally clicked that, you can just really see how the beauty industry has just become more and more predatory towards women, but more so in recent years. And I just started studying that more and more. Like, I just noticed the trend, like it got worse. And as I studied this, I learned that there was a correlation between predatory beauty standards and women gaining power.
Interesting. So we're talking, you listened to me telling my story about how I feel like I started feeling inadequate in my body practically upon entering elementary school. I mean, young, the first time I became aware, I was aware. The first time I can remember noticing my body was sitting at the pool when I was looking down at my thighs and looking over at somebody else's. I don't even remember whose thighs I was looking at, but I realized that mine looked big and hers didn't look big. And I don't even remember who I was looking at that point. Is this something that you find that's common?
Absolutely. Sadly, it's very common. In fact, women average 13 negative thoughts about their body each day. And for younger girls, there's been studies done that show children in first through third grade that 50% of the girls want to be on a diet. Now, this is before their bodies even developed. This is before they filled out and they feel too fat already. And we know that eating disorders will come from this population a little later. And it's taught. It is taught.
Why is this so prevalent among women versus men? Because, I mean, I have sons, and I don't remember. Now, I have to ask my sons about this because we've never quite had this discussion. But I notice in the gym, you'll see a guy, he ain't looking all that hot, but yet he's admiring himself in that mirror. And you see women who look fabulous, who are just working out. And you see the guy, he's like saying, oh boy, I look sexy. And I remember my sons being young and saying, I'm sexy. Okay. What is the difference between boys and girls, especially at this young age? Because is it the media? What's causing this? I mean, I don't even remember having media influences at that age.
Yeah, well, men do have body image issues, but historically that hasn't held them back from success. So for females, traditionally, we survived off of our physical appearance on some level. And ingrained in our DNA, there is a correlation between beauty and survival because you have to mate in order for the species to survive. So you do need to be beautiful enough to attract a mate, or the species doesn't survive. However, that standard of beauty is very low. If you've had sex once in your life, you've been selected for mating and the species can survive. You're pretty enough for the species to survive if you've ever been propositioned for sex ever. And so this extreme manipulation of, oh, I won't survive unless I'm more beautiful, it is all done to drive the economy. And there are more billion-dollar industries that are financially dependent on women changing their looks than on men changing their looks.
So you say health and beauty shouldn't be commingled. Why do you say that?
Absolutely not. Health is what's needed to stay alive, and every species has sort of an internal compass to lead them towards health. And historically, in the natural world, the look of someone making the right choices looks visually pleasing. And so that's what we call beauty. But in the modern world, we've sort of hijacked beauty and put all these standards with it that have nothing to do with health. But they sort of hijack that wiring in our brain saying, if you don't look this way, you're not healthy, when in fact, you destroy your health often to achieve the beauty standard. Modern world beauty standards are about control, not health.
Control by usually men and not women who are doing all this. So women spend all this time grooming and we still don't feel beautiful. What's going on there?
Well, again, the economy is financially dependent on women not feeling beautiful enough. Statistics show that men average a little over 4 hours per week on grooming, and women average a little more than 7 hours per week on grooming. It's not quite double, but it's very close to what women spend on grooming. And so when you look at the way that women are trained to groom ourselves, it consumes our time with complex grooming standards. It consumes our wealth. Now, women already earn less, and we're consuming our wealth on beauty. And what we're taught is that we should invest in our beauty and we'll get this better social position, when in fact you're actually reducing your net worth, reducing your, there's an opportunity cost where you're not out thriving and succeeding because you're home grooming. So we're actually paying in many, many ways to look more beautiful, but then magic never happens. And so that's why it never works. So they'll say, oh, well, it's your lipstick color. Go buy more. If you need plastic surgery, go get that. And magic never happens, so I need more and better. When really, as you said, is you have to have a psychological shift and a spiritual shift. And so I developed a 7-step process to do that. And step 1 is you have to make the decision to like your body. You've been trained to dislike your body. You've been taught to dislike your body. So you can be taught to like your body.
How do you like your body when you're not conforming or you don't perceive yourself as conforming to a particular standard. So here we are. It's USA. Okay. So here comes another Dr. Veronica story. I got to share my personal experience because this is very enlightening for people. So here we are. We're in the United States of America. You guys all know I'm an African American woman. Well, we're not necessarily considered the standard of beauty unless we happen to be somebody who's mulatto type looking. But then on the other side, they'll get somebody who's very African looking, and so it's ones that are kind of in between, like me. You may think I'm kind of cute, but I'm okay, but I'm not the standard. All right. I'm not the standard. And so why do I talk about that? I talk about it because my husband is from West Africa, and we go to West Africa. And now I share with you my 23andMe genetic profile, which I just got back a little while ago, told me that I was 89% West African, which I never knew before. It's sometimes difficult in this country for people of African descent when you've come through the slavery lines to know exactly what you are, and the way people mix and mingle in this country and the way it happened during that. And I know you guys are saying, shut up, we don't want to hear anything about slavery, but y'all listen to my slow, so you're going to hear how it really is. So I go back to West Africa with my husband, and I turn on the TV and I watch the music videos. How enlightening it was, because the women in the music videos, now, you know, music videos, when they get women in them, these aren't the women that they consider unattractive. They're the women that are considered attractive. They're all there. First of all, nobody's skinny. Nobody's skinny. Okay. Everybody is more voluptuous. And in fact, there's no six packs. Women actually have stomachs that are what we would call here muffin tops. And these are women in the video shaking everything, skimpy clothes, turning around. They focus on, this is the standard. All of a sudden I go there and I felt like, oh my gosh, I got it going on. Now I probably was relatively small and not voluptuous enough compared to the women that were in the video. Completely different standard of what's considered attractive, when you look at that. And so I think part of what's going on in this country is that, yes, we're being way manipulated by the media. And it's not just African American women or women of African descent that are having this issue. I have friends that are Italian or, and something that's not whatever, the wispy model is, or whatever it is of the day, that also feel the same way that I feel. And even those women who were the models, that you see on front of the magazines, you start talking to them and they feel bad about themselves too. Is that true? Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. So the standard of beauty we have to realize and it changes from time to time. If you look at when Marilyn Monroe was considered beautiful, now she would be considered obese. And this is one of the women that we all look at as a beauty icon. She would never get on the front of a magazine now, except as probably a plus size model. And then people will say, well, she's not really a model because she's a plus size. I had a friend who works in the fashion industry say, when somebody was plus size, that's not really fashion. You can't call somebody plus size really fashion. So we need to get out of this. So 3 simple steps. Go over. Step 1 is?
Well, as I mentioned, you just have to decide to like your body. And in my journal, you go body part by body part. And I'd rather you think of yourself holistically, but as a starting place, decide to like your eyes, decide to like your nose, decide to like your lips. I start from the top all the way down to your toes and then to your internal organs, because they are under attack as well. And also to personality features that are natural to the feminine. We're taught to not like those either. We're not supposed to like our emotions, a bunch of things that we're always supposed to fix. And that sounds crazy, but there's a whole medication industry teaching us not to be emotional, but that is problematic. True. So step 1 is just make a decision. And then step 2, assign honorable names to each body part of your body overall. What we do is say, I got thunder thighs, or, too much junk in the trunk. I refer to my hip structure. I'm a full-figured woman. I have the stomach pooch and full hips, and I say that I have a goddess hip structure. That's how I would describe myself. So
you do. And because now let's talk about that for 1 second before we go on to the third step. When you say you have a goddess structure, you realize that women who have that build are more what's called estrogen dominant. They have more estrogen. Now it can be really exaggerated and extreme, and you can have too much, which can cause health problems ultimately. And it doesn't just mean because somebody looks overweight that they have these problems. You can't necessarily say that. Okay. So I'm telling people that from, a state, you need to understand that everybody who's built a certain way doesn't have these problems. All right. But the shape that is more estrogen dominant with a little bit smaller waist and the hips and thighs, we're meant to be like that. Estrogen is how we go on and what's considered attractive in women. So a lot of women, when you have the shape, if you don't have the hips and thighs and the shape, then that's less attractive. There's actually an ideal for attractiveness that men are attracted to more. They've studied this, an ideal waist to hip ratio. An ideal. So yes, even 70%. Women, there you go. So even women who are larger may be considered fabulously attractive because they have that right waist to hip ratio. Okay. So realize that some of these factors, and here's the other part of this. Women are harsher on other women than men are harsher on us.
That is true. Yes.
We're just crazy. I mean, we just talk about each other and we're ridiculous. So step 3, number 1 is accept. Number 2 is
assign an honorable name.
Assign an honorable name. Number 3 is
you choose or refuse to place a certain part of your body into beauty service. And I want to spend a lot of time here because this is huge. It's what you alluded to earlier, that women are spending all this time grooming. Well, be strategic about that. I have a whole curriculum called the Goddess Makeover. Beauty, what is appealing to men and what's appealing to children, what's appealing to society, is beauty is nurturing. So if you think of your mother, there's something on her that feels warm and she looks beautiful because that part of her nurtured you, whether it fits the beauty standard or not. So the beauty is intended to be nurturing. So what do you like to put into service? So I don't mind expressing beauty with my eyes. I do mind expressing beauty with my hands. I don't enjoy it. I don't like sitting in the salon. Not my thing. Now I will do it sometimes, but like as an everyday thing, I don't want to do that. So you pick things, and there's a strategic way to pick them. As a model, you know how to create an effect. And so there's a strategic way to pick just 3 things. There's 20 traditional beauty standards that on the female body, 20 things that women really spend a lot of time and money on. And some women try to do them all, and you'll go crazy. If you just pick 3 of those things, you're going to be captivating to a man who's into the things that you like, and that's a good match. You stop. Like if a man wants hands and fingernails, I'm not the woman for him. It's not my thing. I don't want to do it. I won't enjoy it. But if he likes eyes, if he likes feminine dress, I can wear a dress every day, and I like that. I prefer that. So then men who like that, that's a better match for me. Instead of doing some elaborate thing with my hands, and then he likes that, and I don't like that, it depletes me.
Yes. So you got to figure out the right beauty. Pick a few that you can do well that work for you.
To it, and it's not hard. It's 15 minutes. I teach my clients. You create your goddess makeover, and then you just align your wardrobe, align colors. You need one color lipstick, and I can help you find that. You can get ready in 15 minutes, and somebody will find you captivating. Not everybody, because that's where you're going to lose. You don't find everyone attractive. Everyone's not going to find you attractive. But if you follow the Goddess Makeover, you're going to see every day there's a certain core of men that will find you captivating, because that's nature and biology. That's the way it works.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about the Body Peace Retreat before we get to the end of our segment.
Sure. Yeah. With Body Peace University, we have a Body Peace Retreat. This one's going to be this year. It's September 22nd through September 25th, and it's near Atlanta, Georgia. We'll be at a retreat place outside of Atlanta. And we're having it on the autumn equinox on purpose. One of the reasons why women don't like our bodies is because we don't live cyclically, and we're supposed to be cyclical, and we know that. We have a cycle. Our bodies are on a cycle. So you really need to slow down and celebrate the change of seasons or honor them and feel it in your body. So that's why we're having it on the equinox on September 22nd we start. And we'll have a special womb blessing. And your womb energy is key to liking your body, and you'll learn more about that. And it's okay, even if you've lost your womb, you still have a womb space.
You read my mind. I was like, well, what if you don't have a womb anymore? I have a womb, audience. I'm just letting you know because I'm free and I'll tell you as much as I can. I got a womb. But I was wondering, well, what about those women that don't have a womb? So we've been listening to Dr. Felicia Clark, founder of Body Peace University, was with a top modeling agency, a voluptuous, beautiful woman, has also a book, I Like My Body, a 52-week journal to honor and appreciate my body. You need a journal. And step by step, I tell you, one little change at a time can transform your life, your body, your everything else.
Thank you for listening to the Wellness Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more on how to bring wellness into your life, visit drveronica.com. See you all next week. Take care.